Welcome to Better Circles, a podcast where we bring great people together to share ideas that are good for the planet. We're your hosts, Fiona Smith and Luke Phillips. Every episode, we sit down with our deck of conversation starter cards and talk about the things that are making us feel hopeful and inspired. Hey, Nicky. Hey, Luke.
Hello, Fee. Hello, Luke.
Hey, Fee. Hey, Nicky.
How are you all?
Feeling modest?
Feeling very modest. Always. Very, very modest. Very demure.
Great. So if anyone doesn't know, rather than following the traditional interview format, we thought we'd just get straight into the juicy stuff with Better Circles. But it's really important that we all have some awesome context for the incredible work that Nicky does and who they are as a person. I've had the pleasure of knowing Nicky for 2 years. We met when you bought that vest off us, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, You're wearing your IntoCoffee vest.
Full circle.
Who would have thought? And apart from being really cool, the more layers that you pull down on Nicky, the more you find. So we're sitting in front of you. If you've got any visuals for this recording, all of our podcasts are recorded with this incredible mural in the background. That was done by Nicky in the beginning of the year. And there was an extremely vague brief that was given for the mural, and it was absolutely actualized and, brought everything that I hoped to life. And it's all centered around the balance of the human-built environment living in harmony with nature, imagining what that world looks like. And I think it's a really good material example of the genius that Nicky has and the artistic creations that they do, because it's one thing for someone to understand a concept like how nature and the built environment can live in harmony, but it's another thing to be able to articulate that with words, and it's a whole other thing to be able to visually represent those ideas and communicate those emotions. And they've absolutely nailed it. What makes it even better is the entire thing is made from waste and found materials, mostly from the side of the road. So that's a little bit of an intro. It also goes deeper, which we'll get into, rather than just keeping that practice for themselves, sharing the practice, teaching other people, running constant workshops, lots of youth education and training, works very closely with local councils. So yeah, just an incredible human, and we're stoked to have them on, and we'll dive into it deeper now.
Yeah. First up, Nicky, you get a chance to fact check Luke's intro. Anything you wanted to add? Anything that you think he didn't quite do justice of in all of that hyping?
I think
I actually gave you a really nice detailed brief, and it was just a breeze to work through. Is that?
Yeah. Somewhat like that. Yeah, sure. No, it was I think it was a very collaborative effort, this mural, to be honest. I think there was a few conversations that we had to have in order to make sure it hit the message home to everyone. And I think, it did in the end, which was lovely. I think there was definitely some moments where I was quite scared of how it was going to look or how it was going to be received. Because when working with waste, obviously, it's a very tricky medium to make aesthetic.
So one of the things I love about the mural, which is probably one of my first experiences of what you do, is your sense of colour. You're talking about working with waste materials, but it's got this beautiful vibrancy and balance of colour through it. And it doesn't feel like any compromises have been made aesthetically in the actual mural. I know that's probably you're looking at it going, oh, maybe there was compromise, but it feels like it's not just doing the best with what you had, but you really found and elevated really cool parts of the different waste. And, when you can recognise where things came from as well, that's also a really nice extra layer in the mural.
It's a nice happy medium between knowing where those mediums came from and them looking, aesthetic.
Yeah.
You're right. You're very right. I think if I was to produce this mural many years ago, it wouldn't look anything like this. I think it's only looking this way after quite some time working with some of these unconventional materials and really mastering how they work and how to utilize them to the best of their ability. It's full of, for those viewers or listeners who don't know what the mural looks like, it is full of street posters, it is full of Tetra Paks, it is full of a whole lot of paper material, some plastic material as well. And it took a lot of experimenting still to figure out how to cut them to a refined manner, how some stretched, how some would wear over time, and how to then display that and to stick that on a wall so that it lasts the test of time as well. tricky.
Epic.
So cool.
So we will move on to the vibe check. This is a segment where each of us could just check in with either where you're at personally in your work and in a transition to a circular economy, or you can, if you're thinking a little bit more macro at this current moment, you can talk to maybe a little bit more what the next few years might be like, but you know, how that's kind of relative to your specialty, whether it's collage, pickles, bags.
For sure. I'll kick us off.
Yeah.
I think at this moment, it's a funny time. I think I've been working a lot on my own really specific art practice and what that looks for me for quite some time now. And I've produced a solo exhibition really recently, which you came to, Luke. And I think it's almost been time for me to really reevaluate all the mediums I've been working with for some time and to sort of look to the future. So this is coming at an interesting time, this question, because I've been thinking a lot about what the next step my mediums will take place in, or what they'll sort of look like. Because not that I'm bored of what I'm currently working with, but I guess I'm trying to challenge everything again. See if there's other new things that I can introduce to my practice for both aesthetic reasons, for both challenging myself, but also to challenge sustainability, to challenge the outcomes, the lives of some of these things that are present in my life. So I've been working with a number of new things. A really funny one has been the highlighters. I don't even know what they're called on the road. I forgot what they're called, but those little...
Oh, like the little reflecty...
The reflectors, sorry, not highlighters. Yeah.
They're like little pebbles, kind of, but square and reflective.
I've been collecting them.
Square reflective petals. Great.
I've forgotten what they're called. I'll have to Google it again. It's got some funny little name for them, but they have been appearing in my life so often. Obviously not in the road. They've been spun out, especially on Hoddle Street. On Hoddle Street, which makes sense. The cars are going very fast and they're constantly replaced, but the old ones that are spun out of the ground, ripped up from the asphalt, just find their way on the side of the road, or particularly in the island. And on my walks home, because I live in the area, I stop in the island and I always see them in the corner of my eye and I'm like, that's a really interesting piece of rubbish. And that is not going anywhere.
They're winking at you in the light.
And so I've been collecting them and I've been meaning to research. I haven't got around to it, but wanting to know if, will they be reused or not? Sometimes they're cracked and I don't think they will be. I don't even know what the material necessarily is, but I'm really wanting to use them as a result of finding them in such abundant manners. But yeah,
that's great. What a start to a creative project is. I don't think I've spoken about it on the podcast before, but Isabella, who you know well, you both know well, we did a creative exercise once where we went urban foraging and we just kind of walked around Collingwood looking for scraps. And I always reference it because it's probably the biggest change in my behavior that I've noticed after just a single activity. Because I walk those streets every day. I actually do. And, you see rubbish every now and then, but until you're actively looking on the ground for what's there, you first of all, you find so much stuff. Like there's a bajillion cable ties and bottle caps and things like that. But I've also never been able to not see them now. Like every time you walk past one, you always see them. And it's like once you see it, you can't unsee it. Yeah. I just think it's such an interesting, because you want that same experience to be replicated in, food waste, all these other different areas. Oh, yeah. So yeah, that's crazy. The reflecto pebbles.
Now they can't escape me. I will be riding my bike or scootering around now, and I'll look at them every single time to see if they're maybe wiggling in the ground or
if they're ready to go
around them. And believe it or not, a lot of the time I find them and they're not in the ground anymore, and they're just destined to be.
We walk down Hoddle Street, and Nicky the chisel on the road.
Giving him a little shake.
Absolutely not. Oh gosh, I have no time for that. No time at all.
Joking. Fee, how's your vibe?
It's always really hard to answer that sort of even 15 minutes into this chat because I always feel so buoyed and positive. I've been making the mistake of looking at quite a lot of graphs recently and getting pretty stressed out. My vibe...
It doesn't have to be good.
No, it's not. Yeah. I actually think one of the best things for my vibe recently has been taking a bit of a break from really monitoring and like engaging in a lot of it. And I think that's one of the things to remember. It's okay to do, like to kind of return to things after having taken a bit of a break. I spent 5 days last week on a hike out in the Sunshine Coast hinterlands and with a pack on my back and crossing creeks and camping and
by yourself?
With my sister.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was the best.
And where are you going tomorrow?
Going to the Grampians for a bit of climbing.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely good for the vibe. Took a little bit of a social media break, but I do follow a lot of environmental accounts. Yeah, when you're really engaging with a lot of that stuff or a lot of things that are, geopolitical and things like that, you're just like, oh man, that's another milestone we were hoping we weren't going to hit. So I think I have to remember to sort of focus back in on your sphere of influence and not trying to worry about the stuff that is not trying to worry about it, but not exhausting yourself with unproductive worry about the things you can't change, but instead trying to like zoom it into the stuff you can. So yeah, my vibe check's probably a little bit less productive, but it's also a little bit more like regenerative in that regenerating my own energy to come back.
Great.
Yeah.
Love that.
You have to take care of yourself in order to go forward.
Yeah. And, once you end up feeling just so like sitting in the kind of outrage and the, being pissed off with everyone because they're not taking it seriously enough space, you do end up alienating a lot of people. You're just like, come on, I can't even believe you're still caring about that shit when this is happening. It's like you kind of have to sort of like find your own center again. Yeah.
It's really hard to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
You kind of have to play both sides in a way. It's like you have to be able to dance with the macro realistic view of where we're at, but no one wants to come and play with you if that's the
totally
the kind of the energy that you're putting out there. Is that capping off the vibe?
That's
over
me.
to me on the vibe.
I mean,
vibe check?
yeah. So my vibe at the moment is like reconnecting with the sort of awesome power of being out in the stuff that we care about saving. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
I love that.
Go out into the Grampians for some clarity.
Touch some rock.
Touch some rock. Yeah. Not those reflective pebbles you've got in the CBD.
The disco pebbles.
Both bring value. My vibe check, I get really unproductive when I get unoptimistic about what we're doing.
Yeah.
I try and find all these tricks to stay optimistic, probably not consciously and, sometimes maybe ignorantly. But at the moment, we're working on a bunch of new workshops and they're all centered around, I guess, a way I come to think about them is smaller circles. Better circles is about creating better systems. Smaller circles, when I think about that, is more about the feedback loops that you're engaging with.
Oh, cool.
So,
yeah.
Like, Fee, your example right now, you're in a long feedback loop. Like, when you zoom out to like 2030, 2040, 2050 targets, where we're at in the progress to all of those is a little shit.
Yeah.
And so if you're measuring your success and getting your energy from those metrics, it's really hard to stay optimistic about where we are. And that's why I just love workshops so much, because you can come in, like you said just before, I hate doing these vibe checks at the start of the podcast because by the end, you feel optimistic. And that's the example of a small circle.
Oh, for sure.
So how can we integrate those like smaller feedback loops into our everyday life? So there's a really cool project that we're working on that's trying to engage people that are just passing through this really busy foot traffic area, and there's a low barrier to entry, so we kind of just like suck them in with our cool little crafty stuff.
Yeah.
And we're like, hey, we're like hand stitching and pressing some plastic. You want to come and join and hang out? And it's like $10, and they get to learn how to sew and repair some stuff, and then they walk away with like a little wallet or a glasses case. And they're like, damn, this thing is made from waste. It's like super cool, and I made it myself. Big tick on the small feedback loops. So I'm kind of, trying to get my energy from there at the moment. So I'm feeling pretty good.
That's cool. I mean, it's interesting because it's been, I don't know, maybe a month since the last time I did run a workshop and got those small, awesome feedback loops. And I'd always end up on such a high at the end of that. And you get such good feedback. It really was. Yeah. And like the first workshop you and I ran together was one of those plastic pressing, hand stitching, bringing people in off, through high foot traffic, after that was just like, I'm really onto something here.
What's so cool about that one, like the other one that we did, we're replicating that model.
Yeah, cool.
People aren't booking to come in there.
Yes.
And so it's similar to where I hope that we can take this podcast is there's a group of people that all of us at this table would fall under the category of where we'll actively go and want to learn about climate and this kind of stuff because it's in our passion area. But there's a whole lot of passions and areas that we don't really spend our time going out of our way to learn about, but other people are obsessed with them. So we kind of rely on them to go and find out all of that information, and then we might have a conversation with them and we'll learn passively through there. So what's sick about those workshops is you just kind of grab someone out of their day. They're like walking to go for like a nice walk in the sun or whatever, and then they kind of get caught, and then all of a sudden they're in this like immersive experience where they're learning about all these circular systems. Yeah. And you sort of captured this market that they would never come and engage with you otherwise. That's what gets me super stoked. And and they genuinely usually want to do it. They're like, it actually pulls people. For sure.
In. Who wouldn't want to?
Yeah, it's sweet. We've been
super affordable. A wallet or a glasses case that you get out of it for $10 that you make yourself.
Yeah,
skills.
Yeah,
it's a pretty good deal.
Totally,
it's a pretty good deal.
100%.
And I mean, that was the cool thing, with the workshops I've been running recently have all been cooking ones, and so I was like, no, I want them to be, free. I want people to just walk in and do it. But it was limited equipment, and you've got to kind of take them through a slightly longer process. And that was the thing that I loved about the workshop we did with you, is there was aspects of it that had specialized knowledge, like the pressing the plastic. And you were kind of operating, Luke, you were operating the plastic press, but people were able to pull their stuff together. But then once it came to the hand stitching, someone taught me the process and the blanket stitching
on the day,
and then I was teaching the next person, and then I saw them teaching the next person. People are already consolidating their learning by teaching it and having conversations with people they don't know, and it was just doing so much good stuff. Like,
that's amazing.
And I think, Nicky, I can't believe Luke and I are sitting here talking about workshops when it's literally like your thing. So tell us about workshops.
No, it's all of our things. Education is so important.
Yeah.
I was talking to some teachers earlier today, actually. It is so important to be teaching these future generations, to be teaching and passing on knowledge.
Yeah.
But in engaging ways, because you're not going in there with like a projector and a bunch of Microsoft Word slides.
Almost never. Almost never. I was actually tempted for the first time today to
I'm sure if you did take into Microsoft Word slides, they'd look stunning and everyone would actually be really engaged. So
You're too kind. No, workshops are definitely my gig. I love teaching. For a long time I thought I was going to become a teacher and just be sharing and passing on that knowledge. And I realized it wasn't my interest to be teaching anything and everything. It was my passion to teach people the things that I was obviously interested in. So, and that is hugely art, sustainability, and especially how that intersects.
We've talked about the impact on ourselves of running a workshop, and it is super energizing, and you're just like, oh yeah, okay, that's cool. And it shakes me out of something that I tend to do, which is once I know how to do something, I devalue it because I can do that. That's not that exciting. And then teaching it reminds you of like, oh no, that's a cool thing. And someone else can now do it. And I value them being able to do it.
I hear you.
That's really cool, by the way. I've never heard that. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I don't know how common it is, but it seems not that rare to sort of the things you already know or the things you already can do to sort of go to forget that that's not something everyone can do, and teaching stuff can remind you to value skills.
Value.
Yeah. But with you, I mean, we'd love to know more about what you get out of it, but what else do you see? What transformation do you see in the people you're teaching when you're doing workshops?
It's funny because I think it's probably a little bit different to some skills that I guess both of you would teach. I think what I do sometimes is more creative thinking.
Oh, nice.
Which changes every single time I teach it. People get different things every single time out of every single workshop they come to. So I guess that's why there's a lot of people that come back, especially when I run the workshops here, the collage workshops on a monthly basis. People love coming back because they get something different out of it every single time. Yes, they get a collage out of it, or two or three, depending how quickly they move and cut and paste. But they each time, or at least I hope, and I think this is the reason why, they they challenge themselves each time to change their thinking, to try something different in that approach, to mix up the formula, I guess.
I've eavesdropped on a couple of your workshops and I can totally see that playing out. One of the activities that I've heard you do, which is genius, is you're doing a collage and you have a certain time limit to arrange your collage and choose all of your components, and then you put them in there, and then everyone's created their thing and they've put a lot of effort into it, and you're like, okay, now throw it upside down and start again, and you have to do it in 15 seconds or like a shorter timeline, and it just teaches you this like disattachment to like I got gifted this sick little notebook today, and it's bound with fabric, and there's probably like 50 pages in there, and my first thought was like, what am I going to put in here?
Yeah.
Like, I can't just like write my grocery list. Yeah. And then it was Beck Scott, and the first thing she said, she's like, you have to just be like free and you have to just draw in it. And it's epic. You're like breaking down that barrier and tapping into people's creative flow, and then like getting them to put it out there. Like, of course they will come back.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Kind. I love that warm-up. That's usually a warm-up activity that I run. It's something we do at the very start of the workshop. There's no instructions prior. It's purely just that outline and that very, very simple brief, which is grab some materials. You have a minute or two to do so. Doesn't need to be a lot. Doesn't need to be too little either. And we're going to produce something in a really short time frame, usually 5 to 10 minutes. And they will also have a really simple piece of paper. It could be an old piece of advertisement that is no longer serving purpose, or it could be some other bit of found material. And yes, they'll be creating a simple collage, and it gets them to, just really quickly create intuitively and not overthink any steps in that sort of process. And the whole flipping as well, I guess that's another thing. That's sort of something we do maybe later in the workshops when they still have that same sort of thought process of doing stuff quickly. We then get them to do the exact opposite. We get them to slow down.
Yeah.
And so instead of producing the first whatever collage they make, we ask them to flip it upside down. And as a result, we then see them re-challenging all their perceptions of how to make that collage. And they make it in a completely different way, and sometimes they even make it again. And that just re-challenges those paths that they took to get to that point.
Interesting.
You know this about me already, Luke, don't you? That like redoing work is the thing that causes me to be like the most angry. If I write something or do something and I lose the file and I have to start over, I'm just rage. It's come from, having lost work before.
Can I ask you, Feet, is it better the second time?
I have no way of knowing. I feel like, but so like flip side of that, have you seen? I think it's the thing that happens in Diwali, the Festival of Light, where these beautiful mandalas are made out of dyed rice, huge, beautiful, intricate dyed rice, and then they're all just swept away, and it's to demonstrate impermanence. That you can put all this energy into something and it won't last. And it doesn't mean it's not worth doing. And so, on a personal level, on my very unenlightened level, hate redoing work. But on a philosophical level, I can see how that's a really beautiful lesson to teach people. Yeah.
Love that. Next, we're over to Fee's favourite segment.
Oh, it's still good.
I love these segments.
This is my favourite segment. I'm going to grab the card. So it's still good. It's our food waste, hard rubbish finds, repair stories. Anything that makes you say, no, that's still good, and I can keep using it, or I can repair it and bring it back.
Ooh. I have a good one, actually.
Oh, good.
One that came about yesterday, really funnily enough. There's a really awesome individual, Dr. Sabina Andron, who's originally from Germany, and I've been connected to through some lovely connections through council and also some artist friends. I don't want to even attempt to actually describe their PhD, but it's basically researching this whole idea of wall surfaces being an extra space that's like a volume that exists that isn't the wall. It's everything that exists on that wall that isn't the actual wall. It's not the bricks, but it's what's on the bricks. So whether that's graffiti, subtext that's been put there through paint or posters, whatever it may be. And she's been researching it for years and has actually just finished the PhD.
Wow.
And a huge focus on it is on the lifespan of street posters. And for those who don't know what street posters are, they're those big rock posters. They're the big advertisements printed off in like really thin paper and put on walls with wheat paste. And in the time I've known Sabina, she has really connected me to a lot of the research she's done on their existence in NAM and also who's responsible for them and how it's continuously evolving. Long story short, I now know a lot. Some really good news. One of these two companies that really have a bit of a monopoly over it all in Melbourne is agreeing to have a discussion with us as to see what we can do with these street posters once they come off the walls and they collect them themselves and put them in the dump. They're open to have some conversations with us to see if we could possibly be reusing them in some way or another.
Wow.
Which is really, really exciting.
Do they pull them off? Because they paste over and paste over and paste over. So how thick does it get by the time they pull them off?
They can get pretty thick. So,
yeah.
And sometimes it's like 10 plus posters layered on top of each other. So you can imagine that plus glue between every layer looking, like a piece of bread.
Right. Yeah, I'm actually thinking, like roti bread.
They take them off often because they obviously don't want to be putting up a new poster on something that's going to be falling off the next time it rains or even just, by it peeling off naturally.
Yeah.
So they do that quite often. And I tell you, after it rains, you walk the streets and if you know where they are, you will see them.
And what can you do with that as a material?
Well, I have been, challenging the materiality behind them for quite some time. Like I think the earliest stuff I was using them for was simply trying to sort of delay them to be one single layer and just using them as collage materials, taking them to workshops, giving them to other paper material enthusiasts to use in their practice. But it can also be used as a 3D medium as well. I've loved sort of exploring and delayering them and producing artwork with them in that way. But also it is essentially paper. There is some wheat paste and other things in there which make it a little bit tricky to turn into paper again if you did want to mulch it. But it's still possible. It's still a material that can be worked out or composted.
Cool.
It's ripe for circularity because it's got a bottleneck on who's handling the material, and they've also technically got reverse logistics because they go in there to take the posters there. They drive a truck around, I assume.
They do, yeah.
And there's only 2 ingredients. So you got wheat.
Yeah,
wheat
I think
paste
some of them do have a bit of sugar in them as well. I think it helps with the glue.
Yeah.
But that's not toxic stuff, That's sounding like it's probably...
It's not. Yeah, there is
which you would assume it would be how toxic because it's out in the weather.
Yeah, but it's got such a short... So we've talked about this before, whether making things that are really, really going to last, like shoes, but then don't last because of their desirable lifespan versus their physical lifespan, and how destructive it could be to make things that are more robust than they need to be versus things that are built to degrade in line with their useful lifespan. And then there's, of course, the opposite, which is horrific, which is the stuff that's just, fast fashion and just stuff that degrades.
Plastic bottles, coffee cups.
Yeah, all of that.
Long lifespan, ultimately low.
Yeah, super, super short lifespans. They just shouldn't exist, And what's the alternative? And maybe posters, if they are going to exist, let's make sure we're not printing them on truck siding, plastic stuff because they're going to be up there for 2 weeks while they're promoting comedy festival.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. They do a good job in making sure it's pretty thin and there's supposedly a lot of recycled material that is used in the paper.
You can get 100% recycled. That's an option. We did it once, and it was an option to do it with 100% recycled paper. Obviously, it costs you more, but that's often the state of the world with those kinds of things. That's yours. It's still good. You've got it. It's still good. Yeah.
I've always got something. So we were talking about the workshops I've been running at Queen Vic Market, and the most recent one we ran was kombucha and cordial making. The kombucha was amazing. Chris teaching people fermenting was just so cool. So cool seeing him in full flight. And the cordial we did was just this really simple thing, which is basically if you've got fruit skins and you are willing to simmer them with some sugar for 10 minutes, and then strain them into a bottle, you can make cordial. There's no reason to throw out citrus peels, pineapple skins, so many things like that sort of stuff. I started making it after reading recipes for it in this amazing cookbook called Use It All, which I've referenced before on this podcast. If you think about a pineapple, to get the edible bit, you're taking all that spiky stuff off. And also the core is not delicious. I mean, it's not good to chew on. It's too tough, but it's both of those things are still full of flavour. Mangoes, you take a mango skin off and the seed of a mango has so much flavour in it still. But if you really try and like get that out with your teeth, you will be mango fibres through your teeth for days. So, but if you chuck that into a saucepan and boil it, simmer it, 10 minutes, bit of sugar, strain it off.
Wow.
I have just a bag in the freezer that I just chuck fruit skins into, and then I'm like, what am I making this time? It's like lime peels and lemon skins.
Little fruit salad cordial.
Yeah, little Fiona's fruit cup. You know, and, it's like, and there's the like ginger skin. You chuck a bit of that in, and then you put that with soda water or soda water and a little bit of gin, and it's so good. And especially because the citrus, because it's made with the skins, it's quite bitter and quite intense. So it's like a little bit more like a grown-up cordial. So it's almost like an aperitif with the oranges. It's so good. And it's so simple. And it's literally stuff that doesn't do well in compost. You know, citrus in compost is a bit too acidic.
Yeah.
Once you've simmered it and cooked it down, it actually composts better because you've sort of, you know, softened it a little bit as well. Yeah.
Loosen the jar.
Yeah, it's just win-win-win.
And free cordial.
Free cordial. I know. No more drinking boring juice.
Yeah. Not paying 10 cents for the lemonade kid on the corner.
That's why it's still good. And it was really fun to watch people getting into making that at the market.
Stunning.
Which market is this?
It's at Queen Vic Market.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
There's the Moving Feast Kitchen at the Purpose Precinct.
Awesome.
Been doing some workshops there, just nerding out about food waste.
I think Chris might have come up on every podcast.
Yeah, because we think he's the best.
I've never even met him, but I think he's the best.
I described him to Luke as dumpster diving Willy Wonka.
Yeah. He's like, making chocolate from
Oh my God,
coffee,
so good.
waste coffee grounds or something crazy
Used
like
coffee
this.
grounds. Yeah, he's doing so much. Went in one day and he was just like, hey, try this. And it was this amazing little lime pie. Like it was ready to have meringue piped onto it, which I think he was going to do with aquafaba from chickpeas.
Oh my goodness.
And it was so good. And it was vibrant green. And I was just like, the hell, this is amazing. The crust was made from stale croissants that he had then turned into an incredible crust. And the filling was made with lime peel and avocados that were sort of past their good bit or whatever. And it was so good.
So for context, the Purpose Precinct and the Moving Feast project sit within the Queen Victoria Market, and they've diverted how many tons of food waste?
Over 2 tons in the less than 6 months that Chris was there. Queen Vic Market does have a composting process, but the thing is this food was all good for eating if you knew what to do with it. And I think that's a really interesting model to apply to things. Oh, it could be recycled, but also maybe it could be used. Like what's the highest value this could be used at? Maybe this is an actually valuable resource that we're trying to just not throw out. You know, and it's like, no, actually flipping that value and how we value resources. What Chris is doing there, he's passed the baton on to Fernando, who's also a legend. Fernando's now running the kitchen there. What they're doing in there is there's a line of more than 30 products that are made from food that was destined for compost. It's just, everything's got a really good story. Everything is delicious.
It's like a real diverse. There's like kimchi's, barbecue sauces, like lime pickles, obviously like fermented stuff. It's epic. And so the almost compost, we call it food waste, whatever, that happens in the Queen Victoria Market. Then it goes to Moving Feast Kitchen, which is 20 metres away.
Yeah.
And then it gets packaged up into a new product and then 10 metres away sold in the street cafe just around the corner.
And people can see, like, this is what's going on. And then they can peer in and watch in the kitchen as things are fermenting and bubbling. And it's so good.
There's all this wild shit going on in there. It's really cool.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah. The really fun thing about It's Still Good as a segment is once you get started, you realize it really gets everyone thinking about their own stories. And it doesn't take that long before people have one that they want to share. And everyone always feels so proud in what they've seen, the value they've seen in something that maybe other people had overlooked. So what we'd like to do is put this out to the Better Circles community. If you've got something that you want to share that's still good, it might be something you're still wearing 15, 20 years from when you first got it. It might be something you've repaired or recovered or found a new use for. If you want to share a photo of it, tag Better Circles and just tell us why it's still good. And we'll be able to share those on the future episodes of the podcast and also share them on our social page. Yeah.
Next in line, we have patiently waiting Enviro News
where we each look up from our news scrolling and say, have you heard about this?
Nailed it. I'll kick us off, but I need a prop.
A prop?
Alrighty. A really close friend told me about this place. If anyone's local in Fitzroy or like surrounding areas, it's called Terrain Earth. It's a bookstore that I believe runs in the front of kind of a co-working space. So it's only open on the weekends. They do a lot of kind of activations and events and things. Like they just did a mushroom foraging walk with Arc'teryx a few weeks ago.
What?
Which just sounds like the coolest event.
That's a great combo.
Ever. Yeah, isn't it? The fit out of the space is incredible. It's got these ultramarine blue floors, and then all of the shelving is laser cut, but it sort of looks like it's been melted, but it's these aluminium shelves with these kind of industrial seating in the middle. And then it's got mycelium lamps on the walls. Jesse French's Other Matter decal cool. is like hanging on railings in the front. That's like bright green against the blue floor. Basically, it looks incredible. I've only been there once. I went to go back there last weekend, but it was closed. I was devastated. And when I did go, I was with a friend who was really hungover and also suffers from hay fever, and they had a hay bale installation in there. So it wasn't optimum conditions. So I only looked at one shelf, but on that shelf there was, every single book you pick up is just incredible. So I bought one. It's called Material Cultures, Material Reform. It's written by a bunch of architects, and it's kind of like a snapshot of sort of where the built environment is at right now and what they envision will potential pathways for how we can go towards more sustainable circular solutions. Basically like full nerd climate stuff.
Great.
It's so good. I sat down to read it for 15 minutes and ended up sitting there for like 2 hours, just like all these notes in there. It's awesome. And the actual shop, Terrain Earth, is, if anyone is in the local area, definitely go and check it out.
Definitely seen the photos online.
Yeah.
This is news to me.
Cool.
I'm so
my
excited.
to-do.
Yeah, it's
At no surprise, you know all about it.
will not disappoint. It's been open for ages. If you look at all the list of the people that have collaborated to bring this space to life, it's like this amalgamation of all of these people doing this incredible stuff with materials in the local area. The lamps are made from mycelium, which is like the mushroom spores from a local guy called Josh. Yeah, Jesse French, other crazy stuff. It's, super, super cool. If anyone needs a little glass half full pick-me-up, mosey on in there.
Sounds awesome. I love that. That's cool. My new snapshot, probably back to my vibe check, like the big picture stuff, but it's a good one. Commonwealth Bank has become the first of the big 4 banks in Australia to divest from fossil fuel companies that don't have a level of decarbonisation plan.
Perfect.
Yeah.
As they should.
Well, I know. And it's almost like, cheering them doing the bare basics. Right? You're like, well done you for a little less distraction.
They are doing it though.
That's it. And this is probably, back to when you're looking at the long circles versus the smaller ones, we all live in a very supportive part of Australia for this way of thinking. There is all the places to fill your cup in our local area, and so to zoom out and go, these are the people who are, a lot of people have got their banking with them, and a lot of people have got their mortgages with them. Like a lot of Australians have their money with them, regardless of all the things that they have not done well from an environmental and social license standpoint. And now they're doing something. And the thing with those really big companies is once one moves, it changes the expectations for all of them. So I'm feeling hopeful about that. Yeah.
For sure.
It's not just sending a signal to the other banks that they should probably be doing the same, but it's also having a genuine impact on the ability of fossil fuel companies to do business if they have not started making their plans out of their current business of, fucking the earth. So that's my little good news story.
So next in line, we have the segment that currently has 2 names. Nikki, try and guess which one is my name suggestion and which one is Fee's name suggestion. We've got What the Fuck Do I Do? And Little Steps Forwards.
Just hazard a guess.
Yours is What the Fuck Can I Do?
Technically WTF, we don't
No swearing on this podcast. What can we do moving forward?
Yeah.
There's lots of things we can do moving forward. I think always, but for, I guess, the little steps forward is a more specific question to answer. I think there's again, lots of little things we can do for it. I think a really easy and simple one that I've been doing for my whole life is just picking up rubbish where I see it, if possible. And especially if there's a bin nearby, just consciously being aware of it where we see it and really reinforcing that idea of not even not littering, but cleaning up our environments, because we don't know where that rubbish will eventually go.
Epic.
Yeah.
You get a little serotonin hit when you pick up rubbish off the ground.
Oh, 100%.
Particularly if someone looks at you. If you pick up rubbish and put it in the bin and then a passerby watches you do it, you're like, hell yeah, I did that.
You're welcome.
Just an everyday walking good human.
You got to just carry some hand sanitizer on you. Pick some stuff up in the bin after you do your little morning walk. I picked up some rubbish this morning from the Yarra. It was lovely.
I usually, if I'm on a run and I'm picking up rubbish, I try and always do it with one hand. And then when I get home, just try and remember which hand that was.
Cut that hand
one
off.
pocket will be filled with a bunch. Yeah, cut it off. Yeah, that's how you got
wash
to.
both hands.
Yeah, but because you're sweating and you're like touching your face and stuff, so you just don't want to be picking up random stuff.
Fair enough.
But I love that one on this hike that we did last week. Beautiful, pristine nature, but, muesli bar wrapper, cigarette butt, because you're packing out all of your rubbish. So there's kind of nothing to just go as you're walking along. If you see something else that someone's left there, it's so obvious when you're out in pristine nature. It's like, oh, a muesli bar wrapper. And you have to assume that someone out there has done it by accident, like it's fallen out of a pocket or something, because once you've put a couple of days into hiking there, you're probably having a positive experience about it.
True.
But yeah, I think that's an awesome one. So just going to the beach. There's that one that,
Take 3 for the sea. I love Take 3 for the sea.
Yeah.
I do it it's always more like Take 10 for the sea, sadly. But it's a great initiative. I love that.
So explain it for anyone who hasn't heard of it before.
Take 3 for the sea is a little, I think it's an org now even. It started many, many years ago, and they encourage people every time they visit a sea or an ocean or a river or lake to take 3 pieces of rubbish away with them, which is really beautiful.
Yeah.
And cleans up the oceans.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
It makes an active difference. Every year I go down to the west coast of Victoria, and we actively do it there at the beach. And there's a really beautiful culture of doing it amongst, or at least my big sort of community that I have down there. We all, every time we go for a swim, all of us pick up some rubbish as we walk and huddle back up the sand, and whether it's a cigarette butt, someone's chip or whatever it may be, some wrapper, this or that.
Yeah. And a little bit like your urban foraging. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. If you've done it consciously once, every time you go to the beach again, you've developed that vision. Or that,
sure.
Yeah, that
For
focus.
sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
Some may say that it's not the most, I guess, time efficient way of dealing with the matter, but I think it is, because the more we see environments where there isn't rubbish, the more we'll learn to not litter in the first place. And we'll remind ourselves that it's not an acceptable thing to do.
Yeah.
Malcolm Gladwell's Tipping Point as a really cool case study where there's a big crime epidemic and a new mayor comes in, and rather than tackling the crime head on, they invest the majority of their resources in fare evasion and graffiti removal, which changes the dynamic of the people that are hanging around public areas like train stations and things, and the environment is just cleaner, and that actually changed people's behaviour enough to actually get the crime rate down, which is same thing with beaches, streets.
Yeah, there you go.
They call the broken window principle. Like once there's one broken window, what's to stop someone throwing a rock through another one if they feel like it?
Absolutely.
But you don't want to be the first person to throw a rock through
Second
the
or
window.
third though, I'll take that.
Not to segue even further from that, but
Go on.
street posters in a way, and I guess their placement on a lot of sort of public spaces also do that. And I think that's a really positive thing that they are doing. As much as I may not agree with their existence for several other reasons, they do make for cleaner cities.
It's such an interesting... Who's the name of the lady that did that amazing research that you're talking about the space
Dr.
on the
Sabina
wall?
Andron, yeah.
So at what point is that subjective? Because, Banksy's like a hot topic in that. There's this local incredible artist that does those kind of can-looking faces. You'll know their name.
Conrad Square.
Yeah.
If that's who you're talking about.
Yeah. And they're stunning. Like sometimes they're, the size of a golf ball, and sometimes it's like multiple A0 prints that they've patched together. And that, from my perspective, is objectively making that environment better, cooler, funner to live in. Whereas there's some things that I would maybe say are a little bit less considered. But maybe I just don't get it, So it's
an interesting one. We could have another whole hour discussion on this little topic. We're now dwindling in.
So, Nicky, we've been sitting here for 40 minutes, and whether it's due to my lack of skill as a podcast host or just the lack of opportunity for it to come up, but there's been a question that's been on my lips, and I'm really curious to hear your perspective. So, painting myself in one of your workshops, predominantly it's all waste materials, but what's really interesting about it is, a lot of the work is magazines and posters and things, which they kind of sit at a bit of a transient space between, waste or maybe still being used. And so it opens this question of kind of what's the perception of that material value that sits there. So the first thing I'd like to ask you is the concept of waste put to the forefront of the conversation in the workshops, or is it a little bit more of a kind of Trojan horse situation?
I think it's definitely more of a Trojan horse situation. I think waste and the idea of utilizing it is always at the forefront of my practice, but not necessarily so spoken about, if that makes sense. I will forever, I think I've committed myself to a lifetime and a whole practice of utilizing waste, because there is so much of it that can be utilized and justified in an art practice. And I think the same goes for the workshops. Yeah, I guess I just don't advertise them in that way that I'm promoting them as necessarily waste workshops. They're definitely promoted as collage workshops, and just the medium of choice happens to be purely waste materials. No printed materials that are brand new or off the press or anything that's from yesterday. It's predominantly vintage materials or materials that are definitely not serving purpose or could serve another purpose to anyone. Yeah.
Do you think the Trojan horse method has any effect or change on their perception of the materials that you're using afterwards?
For sure. I think for a lot of the workshops, I'm usually working with people, if it's an organisation setting, maybe it is maybe a bit of a more one-off event, and I hope that Trojan horse hits them and that they have that lasting impact, but I won't necessarily get to see how that eventuates. But a lot of the time I am working with people more than once, or seeing them develop over a series of workshops. And more often than not, I do hear and see all these different examples of how it's impacting them in real time. For example, someone brought in all these materials at a workshop I ran yesterday from home.
Yay.
That had just been sitting around and that they wanted to utilize.
Epic.
So good.
And that happens all the time. That happens all the time. And sometimes they're such interesting materials. They could be someone recently brought in all of their Chinese New Year's red envelopes with all this beautiful stuff, and these beautiful card holders with decorations all over them, and use them in their collages.
And they have all that beautiful like gold foil and stuff from it. Yeah.
It was so beautiful and so personal to them as well. So I can see that they want to use those materials specifically because they not only are recycled, but they hold more value as a result of that to them, which is really cool. And that happens all the time. I had a doctor who was coming to a series of workshops of mine, bringing all these med textbooks, which were a bit dry, but also these other magazines and other things that had some cool stuff in them that they used as well.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Love that.
This is slightly building on top of this, but maybe it is a little bit of a change of pace.
Wait, a tangent from you, Luke?
That tangent that we had 2 tangents ago, I think was the first time that we actually fully just got off the rails from circularity altogether.
I did enable that a little bit.
That's great. I loved it.
It's good.
When you're working really closely with these kinds of things, and sustainability is really close to your values, and you live and practice those things every day, how do you think the role of art and or engaging people through art, what do you think that role will play over the next 5 to 10 years?
For myself, in the world?
All of it.
All of the above. I think...
Could be street art. Could be...
my world really does revolve around art. A lot of it. So I do like to think that it's very, very important. But of course, not everyone is intersecting in that art world as often. But I'd like to hope that it continues to be a really important part of society, because I think it's so important that we are actively engaged with our creative minds and creativity. It's really important. It's a crucial part of our brain, and more often than not, we aren't actively using that part of the brain. So I would hope that we continue to use creativity, and that through that we can challenge and be more creative in our solutions.
That's amazing. When you were talking earlier about getting people to be open and free with that creative process, something V and I chat about a bunch, and it's written up on the back wall over there, is far from linear. And we have another segment called Imperfect Progress. And there's just so many connections between the creative process and my experience with circularity. Like, I still have all of these things that I do really terribly. You know, you might like pick up some rubbish on a run one day, but like, nobody's perfect. And the idea that it's this like clear, linear line is just unrealistic. And it makes it really unapproachable.
Completely.
Well, the thing that I'm doing and care about doing and tell people about, I'm a hypocrite because I'm not doing everything else perfectly. And it's like having unrealistic standards isn't helping anyone.
Totally. Yeah.
Do what you can do.
Yeah.
100%. Do what you can do. Seek to improve, but of course, at a rate that is okay for us.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be perfect. It never will be perfect, and it's definitely not going to be perfect straight out of the gates.
Yeah.
That's what I love so much about that exercise.
Totally.
Just like throw it out, throw it in the bin, start again. My mum did the workshop with Nicky.
Oh, wow, cool.
And she's just a real like, let's get it done. She loves painting. Yeah. She's like, you know, attacks everything head on. Like, if we've got a project, we're like doing it, we're smashing it out. And so she's doing a collage class that she's come in and like cut up all of the pieces of paper and arranged it in the way that she wants. And then Nicky comes over and is like, okay, now we're going to move it all around. She's like, oh, I've already glued it. She's like, no, well, that's what we're doing, isn't it? Like, why can't I just do that?
She jumped the gun completely. It was so funny.
Yeah, I'll flip the paper, but look, it's already stuck.
People come out with like 2 collages. She's like, yeah, I've got 6.
It was so funny. It was so funny.
That's so
good. Straight to it.
She runs her own routine. She loved it though. She hasn't stopped doing collages since.
Oh, that is so good to see, to hear.
All right, rolling on to the home stretch.
Yeah.
My personal favourite sandwich.
That's actually just what he's calling you, Nicky.
What'd you name the sandwich?
Oh, what a name. Well, that's how we should have done the intro. My favourite sandwich is here with us today. No hype segment needed. My favourite segment, which just happens to be about sandwiches.
We've gotten silly.
My favourite segment to finish us off is called Sando. It's heavily based around IntoCoffee, where we're recording this podcast. Our whole sandwich menu, each one is named after somebody that we admire or someone that was instrumental in the sandwich coming into reality. So, Nicky, we'll roll over to you. Let's say you're opening a pop-up this weekend and it's one sandwich for the whole weekend only. Who would you name the sandwich after?
I have so many people, actually, now that I really think about it, that I would name a sandwich after. And honestly, you're up there, Luke. I think you really do deserve a sandwich named after you.
We should put that in the rules.
You would definitely have a sandwich named after you.
Oh, thanks.
But also, I think there's probably 2 people that have been really influential in not bringing me into the world of sustainability, but guiding me through to sort of new chapters in it. So really introducing me to the world of public art and how that really intersects with sustainability through street posters and other things. And I think that was all sort of taught to me through my residency that I did at Yarra Youth Services, which was really sort of influential in who I am as a person, let alone where my practice is. It did so much. And the 2 people are, one of them I've mentioned a lot in this podcast, Dr. Sabina Abderon. Most definitely. She's been really, really interesting to continuously engage with and to go back and forth with and discuss all these topics with and just to learn from. And the other would be Chris Parkinson, who's an artist in his own right in many ways, but also a arts officer who for many years mentored me and really continues to I don't think he'd say that he mentors me, but he definitely does. And he was in charge of the artist in residency program alongside other individuals. He really pushed me in the right direction for many years. So I'd definitely have to name one after him.
that.
So I reckon it'd be the Sabina, Parker, and the Luke sandwich.
Oh,
Wow.
that's so nice. Trifecta.
Trifecta.
That's amazing.
There you go.
That's
And
cool.
thank you. That's nice.
Yeah, twist. Luke, you get a sandwich.
Never thought about that.
You're so modest.
So, Nicky, it's been such a pleasure to have you on the podcast. And of course, one of the things we try and do with this podcast is find guests who have a really amazing practice or experience or perspective that we can have a cool chat with. And on our wish list of people to invite to the podcast is, of course, Luke's idol, Brian Eno. Luke has named a sandwich after Brian. So this final segment, which is 6 Degrees of Brian Eno, is a bit of a give us a shout out if you can connect us to Brian Eno, if you think he might like to come on the podcast. You look like you're thinking.
Oh, I am.
Do you have a Brian Eno hookup?
Someone recently, only through Fred again, someone recently told me that they, for whatever reason, were connected to Fred again.
Okay.
And I think they've got friends who are very close to Fred again. And I know that Fred again is really close to, like really, really close to Brian Eno. And I know he was heavily inspired by Brian's.
Fred again would
music
name a sandwich
and
after Brian.
Most
no
definitely.
doubt.
Who was this person? It was only this week, actually, or last week, that they had told me, they're like, oh yeah, like I've got a connection to Fred again. And I was like, wow.
But like a social connection or a spiritual connection?
No.
Because I don't know. Don't know that that's going to help us.
Spiritual, I definitely know more. I know many
It's a start. It's better than we had before, but
Because Luke's already got a spiritual connection to Brian Eno. It's just not getting him on the podcast.
I'll do my research. I'll put it out to the world on Instagram and ask whichever friend this was to come forward, and maybe we can.
Love that.
great, amazing.
Awesome.
Also, his documentary is coming out.
Yeah.
So it's going to be great.
Have you reached out to him
Directly?
We have
directly in any way, shape, or form?
because
a couple of little like cheeky social media things. Alrighty, well, Nicky, thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah.
B, thank you for hosting and diligently keeping us on track.
Not very well. Thank you. It's been really fun.
I think that might be like if we have a tangent scale in the background, like they have the extreme weather warnings, I think we'd be in the red today, which is great. That's where we want to sit. Thank you so much.
Thank you both for having me.
Thank
This has been
you.
lovely.
Oh, so much fun.
I'll
Yay.
come back anytime.